Hello, and welcome back. Sorry for my long leave of absence. In my spare time has been occupied as a host on the Kratom Sobriety podcast. If you enjoy podcasts and you enjoy quitting Kratom, I strongly recommend going and listening to the Kratom Sobriety podcast, where you can find more of me, because whoever wanted more of that. Today, we're going to be talking about things that I wish that I knew before I quit Kratom. And boy, oh boy, do I wish that I knew these things before quitting. So hopefully, me saying these things is going to help you on your quitting journey. A lot of what I talk about today, again, is in my book, Kicking Kratom. You can find it on Amazon. Number one is that things are going to get better. Before I quit, I had an immense sense of fear that as soon as I quit, the world was going to come crumbling down around me without this support or safety blanket, which was, or at least I thought, was Kratom, keeping me from falling into the abyss. The first week or two when I was quitting, I was thinking to myself, how nice would it be to have that support blanket back? Are things ever going to get better? Your vision becomes so narrow and you become so short-sighted, being completely consumed by your addiction and your addictive thoughts, that you can fail to see what your life is going to look like in a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, heck, a year, a decade. One thing that I wish I could tell myself before I quit is that things are going to get better. And the scale isn't linear, it's not logarithmic as to how quickly you're going to feel better. Every single person is different, but just know that after you've quit, maybe it's a month, maybe it's 2 months, maybe it's 2 weeks, the immense part of yourself that you're going to have access to again, that lets you enjoy life on life's terms, is restored. And for me, that is absolutely irreplaceable. The second thing, life is worth living without Kratom in it. If I had a time machine, I would do a lot of things, including telling my future self to buy gold. The other thing that I would do is to tell myself before I quit Kratom that life is worth living without it. The way that I know that my life is just immeasurably better than it was while I was using Kratom is because I don't have to constantly think about it. It's not something that I'm worrying about. It's not something I'm concerned about. It's not something my friends are concerned about. It's not something that I have to hide. It's not something that I have to constantly fear is making me a worse person, is making me more unhealthy. Life is worth living without Kratom in it because there are so many aspects of life that require a fine painter's brush. It requires you to be able to see the detail in things, emotional nuances, connection to nature, a connection to your loved ones, social settings, activities. While I was on Kratom, and I've said this quite a few times before, it's one of my favorite things to say about Kratom, is I felt like everything was covered in this tiny little film or blanket, and I couldn't see it clearly. This is a pretty abstract concept, so it's difficult to explain clearly, but picture this. I'm just looking out of my window looking at a tree. If I were looking at that tree on Kratom, it would be nothing special to me. Everything that I think and feel about that tree is dictated by how Kratom is making me feel. Now when I look at that tree, it's dictated by how I feel and how I feel about the tree. I know it's kind of a silly analogy, but it's the point I'm trying to illustrate is that life is worth living without Kratom in it because you're able to see life as you want to see it, not how Kratom is making you see it. And that is something that I reiterate over and over and over again in these videos because of how truly important it is. So a thing that I wish that I knew before taking Kratom is that life is absolutely worth living without Kratom in it. Another thing that I wish that I knew before quitting Kratom, and this is an analogy that I haven't spent that much time thinking about, so please bear with me, is that quitting Kratom is like adding yeast to the dough of the bread of your life, if that makes any sense. While you're on Kratom, it's kind of like being a very flat, dense loaf of bread. You can eat it, it's okay, it's not the best option, but it's there. You don't want to go to the store and get more bread, so you've got this kind of dense, unyeasted loaf of bread that you're eating every day, and it's filling you up, but it's not satisfying. When you quit Kratom, it's like suddenly the baker has found the yeast and your dough leavens and your life rises. That's the best analogy I could really come up with for this. And I wish, again, if I had a time machine, I would invest in gold, but I would also go back and tell myself to add the yeast to my loaf of life bread earlier. And by that, I mean, I wish I could have told myself to quit earlier because it was only going to be doing me good. And that is a point that I absolutely love and want to reiterate. So here's a few examples. When I'm out socializing, I feel so much more capable on my own terms. I don't have to worry about going into the bathroom to dose. I don't have to worry about hiding it. And it just gives your life this extra spring and air and lightness that is totally diminished when you take Kratom. Because Kratom ties you down in ways that you don't realize it was tying you down in until you've quit. And that's one of the reasons I'm making this video, is because we don't have the power of, absolute foresight when we decide to quit. We don't know what we're going to feel like. We don't know what our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our desires, our behaviors, our physical activity is going to look like in the year after we quit Kratom. Because of that, I like making these videos because you have someone that can look you in the eyes and tell you, this is my experience, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I hope you feel too. Here's another thing that I wish that I knew before I quit, and this will hopefully give you some more motivation. And the best way that I could come up with this is everyone in your life wants you to quit, even if they don't know you're using. And that's something that I used to say to myself before I quit, is if people knew that I was using, they would want me to quit. And when people don't know you're using and you are using, think about the ways that your use is even subtly impacting their lives instead of yours. So you go into the bathroom and you're hiding your use from your husband or your wife or your 100 husbands or your 100 wives. I don't keep score, I don't keep track, and I don't judge. And think about the way that that's impacting them. You're going in there, you're hiding, you're being secretive, and they're wondering what's going on with my husband or what's going on with my wife. And there's so many other ways that it impacts your life, and especially the lives of others. So when I was quitting, I used to think the only thing that quitting Kratom is going to do for me in the long run is to make me a better person, is to make me someone who's capable of looking someone in the eyes and saying, here I am, this is who I am, and I don't have anything in my life that's turning me into someone else. Here's something that I wish I knew as well before quitting, is that the guy at the gas station or smoke shop secretly wants you to quit. This was one of my favorite ways to distract myself from going into a smoke shop and getting more Kratom when I was having cravings, is I would think about how even though the guy working at the smoke shop might appreciate my business and might want me to purchase Kratom, he's secretly thinking, oh man, this guy has been coming in here once a week, now it's twice a week, and he has a problem, and I'm worried that I'm partially responsible for this. So if you can develop some sort of almost an accountability system with this faceless, nameless person at your local smoke shops or gas stations, there's a lot more consequence to you going in there and purchasing Kratom and quote unquote letting this person down by giving into your addiction again. And I think it might be kind of a silly way to think about it, but you have to play these mental games with yourself if you want to make any progress. The mind is a tricky place. The mind is a super tricky place. Have we ever heard of placebo before? Even that concept alone blows my mind. The mind is a very powerful and capable place, and you can use that to your advantage. So take advantage of tricks like this. And finally, the last thing that I wanted to touch on is that quitting might not be easy, but that's a good thing. Over and over and over again in my life, I keep witnessing and hearing the same sorts of things come out of people's mouths. Someone will stub their toe, a son will stub their toe, and the father goes, oh, well, that's character development. Or one of my friends is having a really horrible day. They just got laid off. They're just in the worst possible spot. And they say, oh, well, it's character development. And they mean those things sarcastically because they're not really enjoying all that hardship. They're not enjoying having stubbed their toe. They're not enjoying having been laid off, because who would want to do that? But with quitting Kratom, it's very different. I think that quitting Kratom genuinely made me into a better person, a stronger person. Quitting was hard. It wasn't easy, but it made me better. It made me genuinely better. I look at myself and I go, that's a better person than the person that I saw 2 years ago. And it's absolutely true across the board. I mean, I still leave clothes on the floor. Not everybody. Some people do that. You're humans. Sometimes we do things like that. I'm not perfect. I still have my flaws. I still have my vices. I drink too much coffee. But at the end of the day, something that I wish I'd known before quitting Kratom was that this is a benefit. This is a positive. This is a good thing. You're improving your life, and the hardship is going to make you stronger. So when you feel pain, or you feel tired, or you feel stressed, or you feel withdrawals, go through them knowing that the challenge you're facing now is going to make you all the much more capable of facing even harder challenges in the future. And they're going to feel like nothing. They're going to feel like little mosquitoes. Anyway, those are some things that I wish I'd known before I quit Kratom. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find my book, Kicking Kratom, on Amazon. I want to thank everyone for the love and support I've gotten and all the positive reviews. It means a lot. You can find me, a host on the Kratom Sobriety podcast. And as always, I have been Nolan, and I'll see you next time.